Calaroga Shark Media. Hello and welcome to Ghost, Scary Stories. This episode is titled Halloween Inheritance Part 1. The Haunting Begins.
The crisp October air bit at Emily's cheeks as she fumbled with her keys, struggling to unlock the front door of her newly inherited Victorian mansion. The porch light flickered ominously, casting dancing shadows across the weathered wooden boards. A gust of wind rustled through the overgrown bushes, carrying with it the faint whisper of laughter. Or was it a scream? Emily shook her head, dismissing the thought. It was just nerves, she told herself. After all, it wasn't every day a 28-year-old graphic designer suddenly became the owner of a decrepit mansion, courtesy of a great aunt she'd never even met. As the key finally turned in the lock, Emily couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched. She glanced over her shoulder, her eyes scanning the darkened yard. Nothing but shadows and the gentle sway of bare tree branches against the starlit sky. The door creaked open, the sound echoing through the empty foyer. Emily stepped inside, her footsteps muffled by a thick layer of dust coating the hardwood floors. The air was stale, heavy with the scent of mothballs and something else, something older and more sinister. "Hello?" Emily called out, her voice wavering slightly. "Is anyone here?" Silence answered her, broken only by the steady tick-tock of an unseen clock. Emily fumbled for the light switch, sighing with relief as a dim bulb flickered to life, illuminating the entrance hall. The foyer was a time capsule, frozen somewhere between the elegance of the early 20th century and the neglect of recent decades. Ornate wallpaper peeled from the walls, revealing glimpses of faded floral patterns underneath. A grand staircase curved upwards, its banister draped with cobwebs. Emily's gaze was drawn to a large portrait hanging above the fireplace. It depicted a stern-looking woman with piercing blue eyes and silver hair pulled back into a tight bun. Great Aunt Agatha, Emily presumed. The woman's eyes seemed to follow her as she moved, a disapproving frown etched onto her painted features. "Well, Aunt Agatha," Emily muttered, setting down her bags. "I guess it's just you and me now." As if in response, a cold draft whispered through the room, causing the chandelier to sway gently. The crystals clinked together, creating an eerie melody that sent shivers down Emily's spine. Determined to shake off her unease, Emily began to explore her new home. Each room told a story of faded grandeur. Dusty furniture draped in white sheets, tarnished silver gleaming dully in the moonlight that streamed through grimy windows. As she ascended the creaking staircase, Emily couldn't shake the feeling that she was disturbing something. It was as if the house itself was holding its breath, waiting to see what this intruder would do next. The upper floor was a maze of shadowy corridors and closed doors. Emily's hand hesitated over each doorknob, her heart racing as she imagined what might lie behind them. But each room revealed only more dust, more forgotten relics of a bygone era. It wasn't until she reached the end of the hall that Emily found something truly unsettling. The last door was different from the others, older, with strange symbols carved into its dark wood. As her fingers brushed the intricate patterns, a jolt of electricity seemed to pass through her. The door swung open of its own accord, revealing a small, circular room. Unlike the rest of the house, this space was immaculate. No dust, no cobwebs, just gleaming hardwood floors and walls lined with floor-to-ceiling bookshelves. In the center of the room stood a pedestal, and upon it rested a large, leather-bound book. Emily approached cautiously, drawn by an inexplicable force. The book's cover was blank, but as she reached out to touch it, golden letters appeared as if by magic. The Grimoire of Agatha Blackwood. Emily's fingers trembled as she opened the book. The pages were filled with strange diagrams, cryptic symbols, and text written in a language she didn't recognize. But as she flipped through, certain words seemed to leap out at her. Spirits, summoning, binding. A chill ran down her spine as the realization hit her. This wasn't just any book, it was a spell book. Her great-aunt had been a witch. Suddenly, the temperature in the room plummeted. Emily's breath came out in visible puffs as she spun around, her heart pounding. The door slammed shut, trapping her inside. "Who's there?" she called out, her voice shaking. A disembodied whisper answered, seeming to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. "You don't belong here, child. This house, this power, it's not for you." Emily clutched the book to her chest, backing away until she hit the wall. "Who are you? What do you want?" The air in front of her shimmered, and a translucent figure began to take shape. It was the woman from the portrait, Aunt Agatha, but her stern expression had twisted into something malevolent. "I am the guardian of this house and its secrets," the ghost hissed, "and you, my dear, are an unwelcome guest." Emily's mind raced. This couldn't be real. Ghosts weren't real. And yet, here she was, face to face with the spectral form of her great-aunt. "Please," Emily stammered. "I didn't mean to intrude. The house was left to me. I'm family." The ghost's laughter was like breaking glass. "Family? You know nothing of our family's legacy, of the power that runs through your veins. You are weak, unprepared for the responsibility that comes with this inheritance." As Agatha spoke, other shapes began to materialize around the room. Shadowy figures with glowing eyes, reaching out with grasping clawed hands. Emily pressed herself against the wall, her heart threatening to burst from her chest. "What do you want from me?" she cried. Agatha's form flickered, her voice growing fainter. "The veil between worlds grows thin, child. Halloween approaches, and with it, a chance to right old wrongs. You have until the stroke of midnight on All Hallows' Eve to prove yourself worthy of your inheritance. Fail, and this house, and all the souls trapped within it, will be lost forever." With a howling gust of wind, Agatha and the other spirits vanished. The room returned to normal, leaving Emily alone and shaken. She sank to the floor, the grimoire still clutched tightly in her arms. Her mind whirled with questions. What did Agatha mean by proving herself worthy? What souls were trapped in the house? And most importantly, how was she supposed to deal with any of this? As the grandfather clock in the hallway began to chime midnight, Emily realized with a start that she had exactly 1 month until Halloween. 1 month to unravel the mysteries of her family's past, to learn the secrets of the grimoire, and to save not only herself but the trapped souls of the house. Suddenly, an ear-splitting crack echoed through the room. Emily whirled around to see a jagged line appearing in the air, like reality itself was being torn apart. Through the widening rift, she caught glimpses of a swirling vortex of colors and shapes that hurt her eyes to look at directly. "What's happening?" she cried out, backing away from the strange phenomenon. Aunt Agatha's voice whispered from the shadows, "The veil grows thin, child. They're coming through." "Who's coming through?" Emily demanded, but the ghost had already faded away. As if in answer, a long, grotesque arm reached through the rift, its fingers ending in sharp talons that grasped at the air. Emily screamed, stumbling backwards and nearly dropping the grimoire. In her panic, she tripped over a loose floorboard, sending her crashing to the ground. The book flew from her hands, landing open on the floor. As Emily scrambled to retrieve it, her eyes fell on a page that seemed to glow with an otherworldly light. Strange symbols danced across the paper, rearranging themselves into words she could somehow understand. To seal the rift, speak these words. Emily's heart raced. Could she trust this book? Did she have any choice? The arm was now joined by another, both clawing their way further into our world. Taking a deep breath, Emily began to recite the incantation. her voice shaky but growing stronger with each unfamiliar word. The air crackled with energy, and the rift began to pulse and shrink. But just as it seemed the portal would close, a face appeared in the gap, a face so terrifying and alien that Emily's voice caught in her throat. The creature's eyes locked onto hers, filled with malevolence and hunger. "We will return!" it growled, its voice like grinding stones. "At the stroke of midnight on Samhain, when the veil is thinnest, we will claim what is ours." With a final, bone-chilling shriek, the creature was sucked back through the closing rift. The tear in reality sealed itself with a thunderous boom, leaving Emily alone in the suddenly silent room. She sat there, shaking, the grimoire clutched tightly to her chest. What had she just seen? What were those creatures? And what did they want? And how was she, a normal girl who knew nothing of magic just hours ago, supposed to stop them? As the adrenaline began to fade, exhaustion washed over Emily. But she knew sleep would not come easy tonight, not with the creature's threat echoing in her mind. 1 month until Halloween, 1 month to learn magic, to uncover her family's secrets, and to prepare for a battle she never asked for but couldn't ignore. Emily looked down at the grimoire, its pages now innocently blank. Well, she muttered to herself, a hint of grim determination in her voice. I guess it's time to start studying. Little did she know, the true horrors of her Halloween inheritance were only just beginning.
Ghost is a Calaroga Shark Media production, written and hosted by Alexander Ian McIntyre, produced by Mark Francis, executive producers Mark Francis and John McDermott. Portions of this podcast may have been created with the assistance of AI.
This show, along with hundreds of others from Calaroga Shark Media, is available commercial-free on any player, hassle-free. Just look for the link in the episode or show notes. Ghost now has merch. Find shirts, mugs, and more with the Ghost logo for sale at our merch store. There's free shipping and 10% off now with the coupon NEWMERCH10. Did we say there's free shipping? Check out all the goods at calaroga.com, that's CALOROGA.com, or just look for the link in the show notes. Thanks for supporting the show, we really appreciate it.
Calaroga Shark Media.